All right, welcome back to the Randy Forcier podcast. This week I have another top 5 episode coming at you. It's me and Chris Bedard breaking down our top 5 NFL storylines for the season coming up. We're going to run through those. We're going to make predictions on who's going to win each division, each conference, the Super Bowl, as well as some individual awards. It's a great conversation. Really looking forward to you guys listening to it. So please enjoy. And if you can do me a favor and subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, like the Facebook page, I would really appreciate it. So thanks again, everyone. Beds, we're back. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Before we begin today, I have something that I want to discuss.
Here we go. You didn't talk to me about this.
The amazing Randy Forcier podcast logo.
Yes.
Beard. Can I get a t-shirt soon?
Dude, they're coming. They're coming. I'm ready to share them with the world, so I'll definitely get you one for our next pod.
All right.
So today we are doing something different than last time. We are doing an NFL preview podcast because the season is almost upon us. We got a few more weeks to go. So we want to put a little something out there for you football fans, talking about the things that we're most excited for this season. So, Bez, you've been doing some research?
Yeah, I got some notes in front of me. I hopped on the Google machine. I've got some stuff upstairs in my dome that I'm ready to spill and let out. So let's do this, buddy.
So the plan today, and this is kind of my thing moving forward, we're doing these top 5 podcasts. I did a top 5 movies pod with my brother. Got another one coming up soon. I'll probably do some every 5 or 6 weeks with you and him. We're going to be doing top 5 NFL storylines heading into the season, or top 5 things that excite us heading into the season. So the plan will be to do an alternating list of our top 5, starting with our 5th most exciting thing down to our 1st, and then we'll see where we finish up. After that, we have another thing that I'll talk about then. But let's start with our top 5 favorite storylines. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to begin, host?
You know what? Why don't I let you, as my guest, start out and let me know what your number 5 most exciting thing or thing you're looking forward to the most this season.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of topics that I was tossing around, and I think I want to start with the Patriots today.
Okay.
So Brady's got a Super Bowl win in Tampa now. The Pats made the playoffs last year, and obviously we got destroyed. I mean, that was something that we don't want to see again. So I want to start today with Mac Jones and the Pats.
I should say this is my number 2 thing, just so I'm very excited about the Pats this year versus last year, and we'll get into why as we go. But just it's on my list, so we'll cross it off. We'll spend time talking about it now, and I just want to put that out there. So tell me about Mac.
Well, my thing is can we win a playoff game without TB12? So as I wrote that idea down, there's many thoughts that come to my mind, and it's like the number one thing with the Patriots, especially coming into this offseason, I mean, the Bills and multiple teams just ran us off the field last year. From the linebacking core through the secondary, we obviously needed to get faster, and it's like some of these things throughout the summer, it clearly shows me that we're looking to become faster. We got some hybrid stuff going on with safeties, some differences now with J.C. Jackson gone.
Yeah.
We brought some new guys in. We drafted a couple guys. So when it's like everything that they did was speed.
Got a little bit younger. The thing about the Pats that scares me, and I'm excited about Mac Jones, big Mac Jones guy, so very positive on him, but it's the other pieces that, like, nothing excites me. No one really excites me in the wide receiver core. Harris is always hurt. I don't know.
Well, the offensive side of the ball it's kind of, so they're talking about doing some of this zone read, this zone principle stuff on offense. I've heard some multiple names, but basically it comes back down to the Shanahan system.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like on the offensive line we made some moves, especially with Shaq Mason going out, Cole Strange coming in.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving some guys around. It looks like they want some more athleticism along the lines. Type the Thornton kid that we just drafted as a burner. We still got Aguilar back there. Bourne, Jacoby gets better this year. Kendrick Bourne, he's a wild card for me, but it's like you got Hunter Henry, Jonnu, our running back core is really good.
Yeah.
So it's like I have high hopes on offense. I feel like some of the stuff that we're talking about, or the media in that area with the offensive struggles early in camp, I see them working that out. It's just
I hope so.
I'm excited for that side of it.
Well, we also lost McDaniels though too now, and then we talk about Patricia and Judge are splitting the play calling, and it's like, how is that going to work out? I guess it's left to be seen, but I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, and it's typical Bill. He brings his guys in, and it's like, when I was talking to Tangway about this, it's so typical of Bill to just bring a guy in and just plug him in a certain area and expect a high level of performance from them. And Jay was kind of mentioning to me, it's like, at that level, if you're an offensive or a defensive coach, if either or is your background, you can draw out plays on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So it's like with Patricia and Judge in that area, it's like two smart guys. I know both of them failed in their other jobs, but McDaniels failed in Denver, and he comes back.
The Belichick coaching tree doesn't have a lot of success as head coaches away from Bill. Bill O'Brien did for a few years, but everyone seems to come back. So McDaniels will probably prove us wrong this time. But yeah, no, those guys tend to come back.
So here's the thing. Ultimately, do they win a playoff game this year?
That's the goal, right? Win one playoff game? Is that... What's a realistic ceiling for them? Are we asking them to get to the AFC Championship? And there's some decent teams in the AFC, so...
I mean, it was crazy last year that they were knocking on the door of a first-round bye. I think it was week 14, and then ultimately we ended up where we did appropriately.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm looking at this AFC East. You go through these teams, and it's just, man, Bengals, Baltimore, Buffalo. There's a lot of, I mean,
there's teams out there too, even in the middle of the pack. So it's going to be tough to come out of the AFC. But I think if Matt can have a better year than he did last year, they win a playoff game. I think that would be a successful year for the Pats.
So I'm going to go with yes, we win a playoff game.
Okay, I like it. I'm hopeful too. I think we can do it, and I am more excited about the Pats than I am last year. I'm still not. It's weird, man. It's weird without Brady. I'm still recovering a little bit, still in that grieving process a year later, but I'm definitely more excited this year than I was last year. So looking forward to them kicking off the season soon. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go to my number five. Does that work?
Okay.
Cool. So for me, it's all the quarterbacks that have gone on to new teams. So the people that I have are Russell Wilson on Denver, not a big Russell Wilson guy. Matt Ryan on the Colts, which, whatever. Carson Wentz on the Commanders, which not a huge Wentz guy. But then you get into, I'm actually a little bit excited to see if Baker contributes down in Carolina. And then Deshaun Watson, who's going to end up not playing a game this season. But there's some pretty big movement on the QB end this year, which is always fun.
So random. My 5 topic is your 2. My 2 topic is your 5.
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, I put old faces in new places, and I highlighted Matt Ryan and Russ.
Yeah.
And I guess basically then you maybe go to Carson. But I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out. And one of the thoughts that I had was this, if you look at the 2 bigger moves, probably Ryan and Russ, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think Russ is almost on its own level. I think clearly he's the biggest name in terms of where he is in his career and probably still somewhat at his peak. I think Ryan's definitely on his way down. You might get a couple good years out of him in Indianapolis. But so I put him on a pedestal, and then Ryan definitely is the second biggest name to move.
And I was looking at it, it's dome team with the Colts, stud running back, sick defense. That football team just was kind of tailor-made for a veteran quarterback to come in. So it's I started asking myself the question when I was writing these topics down, which one has the bigger impact? And it's Russ is the flashier move, probably.
I mean, who do they have? Jerry Jeudy out there? Their running backs haven't impressed me over the past few years, so I don't know if they have all the pieces in place. I think Colts can make an argument for them to win the division, which we'll get to later on. So I'm interested to see who finishes higher out of those 2.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm probably leaning Matt Ryan in this case, but something sneaky too. It's Wentz. What a weird scenario for him with his career. I mean, high draft pick, immediately moves to another team, and then they immediately move him, and so he's sitting there with the Commanders, and it's almost that's an amazing move for them, right?
Definitely. When you look back at his career, it's going to be. I don't think it'll be a super positive feeling that you get. I mean, it's too bad Eagles win the Super Bowl when he's on the bench with Nick Foles. It's such a bad sign over there. And is he going to just continue to bounce around every couple of years from team to team until he peters out? Who knows? I would want him to do well, but I I don't feel great about the Commanders in general. Their organization's a mess. They're nothing notable. No super great players on their team. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's kind of your topic that I'm sort of piggybacking here, but is there any other kind of area with those quarterback changes anything else that kind of sticks out for you?
No, well, I guess the only thing would be Deshaun Watson. That'd probably be the biggest wild card out of everything. If he was to play, I'd be interested to see the impact that he had on the Browns. And I guess we're probably a season away from seeing that. Although he has a 6-game suspension on the table, by all accounts, that's going to get extended to 17 games, unless there's some other type of agreement. So maybe catch him at the tail end of the season, if that. But I'd be interested to see the impact he has, because he's obviously a young stud, one of the top quarterbacks in the league if he's actually playing. But we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, 2 years ago he came into New England, and we ended up winning that game. But man, he just threw darts all over the field against us, and it was sort of my first moment with him. Whereas, like, he put up some nice stats over the years, but it was like, man, he's really kind of making some big throws now. So luckily, we sort of avoid any scenario with that, because if it's a minimum 6 games, I believe we have them week 5 or 6 this year. So we'll get Jacoby Myers, former Pat. But yeah, it's funny. I didn't really kind of think about him, because it's like he didn't play last year, and he's got probably at least 6 games this year. You almost wonder too. It's like these are the highest of the highest athletes. When he comes back and plays, probably going to be fine, but really he hasn't played football in a year and a half. So what does that look like?
Well, the money that he got, he has to be fine. The contract he got is just so insane for what the NFL does. To give a guaranteed contract was $250 million. Yeah, he better be fine. And I'm sure the Browns are expecting him to, and hopefully he is. He's done some questionable stuff, some not great stuff, but yeah, I'm sure he plays at some point.
And one final thought I have about that is, if you're an NFL owner, you're in a league where your players aren't really given guaranteed contracts. What a weird scenario that is. But I mean, if you and I are sitting around as owners owning other teams and looking at this move, paying this kid as much as you did, guaranteed wise, and he had all of that stuff hanging over his head, you're kind of looking at that owner like,
what the hell are you doing? Yeah, setting a new precedent. Is this what quarterbacks are going to expect nowadays? And I don't know if they will. It probably speaks to how important quarterbacks are, though. Probably more than any position in any sport in the world. You can't be a successful football team if you don't have a good quarterback. And a team like Cleveland's not going to attract a good quarterback just because they're Cleveland. You're going to have to be willing to do what they did to get a guy like him to come play there. So I guess I understand it. It's definitely an unprecedented, weird move, though.
So before, I guess we let this one go, we haven't heard the news yet, but my guess is, I say 6 games. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I know that they came out at 6 originally, and I think Goodell said he wanted the whole season. And they're going back to some other person reviewing it now. So I wouldn't be surprised that it's more than 6 at this point. It's just a matter of if it doubles or if it ends up being the full 17-game season. But I was looking at the schedule while we were talking. Pats are playing the Browns in week 6. So safe to say that we'll be going against someone else at that point.
Yep.
So, all right, what do you got for number 4?
So we're staying quarterback theme here. So both guys lost. So Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
This is sort of and I wrote down some of the wideouts that they have now. Which one has a better year? So both quarterbacks are amazing. Mahomes losing Hill, Devontae leaving, Rodgers. It's like, man, Rand, listen to these names. Aaron Rodgers, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, Lazard, right? So those are the guys that he has on the roster right now. Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Juju from Mahomes, Josh Gordon.
Okay. Is he gonna make the team?
I don't know. I just threw his name in there because it's like everybody just wants Josh Gordon to do well. Yeah. Both guys, though, Aaron with this kid, Christian Watson, rookie, and Mahomes with Sky Moore, both highly touted rookie wideouts. So it's like they both drafted a couple players. But I'm kind of sitting back here when you're talking top 5 lists. Man, 2 guys with they just lost their binkies. What does that look like?
Who's the bigger loss? Is Devontae a bigger loss than Tyreek? I kind of think it is. But what do I mean? Both those guys are top 5 receivers in the league.
But I used to kill Brady in the early 2000, the 2010 area when it was like we were wide receiver came in, somebody left, somebody came in, somebody. When it's like that 2013, 14, 15 area, I used to judge Brady his ability to throw to new guys. So I guess really this is going to be the first time where I'm going to be able to judge that with Aaron and Mahomes. But part of me thinks with these names, Rodgers is used to Cobb, Sammy Watkins is serviceable.
Is Cobb older than me? I mean, he's been in the league for a long time. I can't imagine he's able to still really contribute, but maybe. There's definitely a comfort level with him.
So Sky Moore is probably a little bit ahead of Watson as far as rookies. Juju, good player.
Yeah.
Another former Packer, Marquez. So it's like I'm kind of leaning Mahomes here. Younger player.
I would lean towards Mahomes. He still has Kelsey. That's the thing, too. Keep that in mind. I know because we were just going over receivers, but his big key number 2 is Kelsey, and you could even argue it's number 1. So I think Mahomes probably has a little bit better of a year. I'm not a huge Packers guy. I'm not super positive for them this year. So, but hey, Rodgers is an all-timer, so he could easily prove me wrong, but I think he's working with a little bit less than Mahomes is.
So that's my number 4. How does that end up looking? And just quick shout out to Kelsey, one of my many starting tight ends in our fantasy football league. 2-time Super Bowl champ, fantasy football champ over here. No big deal.
It really is no big deal. I mean, you're a grown man. Congratulations. It's not even cool to be good at fantasy football.
The jealousy from Randy's reeking right there.
Yeah, let me pause this video so I can go take a walk.
So what do you got for number 4?
You might be surprised about this one because I had to fight myself to not put it number 1, but it's Brady's final season with the Bucs.
Yeah.
Right. I had weird mixed emotions about this last season with Brady. Like when he retired, I was very disappointed. I was like, okay, that's it. Did not think he was going to come back. Then all of a sudden, abruptly comes back. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm fired up. I'm like, let's watch Brady more, which I love watching Brady. But it's just been strange. Whatever's going on right now with him being away from the team for, 10 days? It's just, I have a weird feeling. But at the same time, they signed Julio. They got awesome receivers. They're a solid team. They could easily go to the Super Bowl. I just don't know what to make of it. I'm excited to see him, but the next couple of weeks will be interesting.
So we're cross-pollinating here. TB12 is number 1 on my list.
Is it? Okay. Sorry to steal your number 1.
Yeah.
It could have easily been my number 1, but I figured everyone would make fun of me for it being my number 1 because I'm such a Brady guy. I'm like, I have to play it cool with it. So put it at 4.
So I have a little something to introduce with this. You have the Miami stuff, which was really surprising to me, by the way, that 2019 area flirtation with Miami. And I guess I get it. You know what I mean? It's like you're clearly almost out of the door in New England. You're holding on to this TB12 method. You're still super insane. You're psychotic about competing. And it's like your brain starts moving towards, all right, what's my solution to continue to play football? So it wasn't surprising to hear
Miami's
that.
that answer? Like, I guess you can keep playing in Miami, but I don't look at Miami as a competitive franchise. The whole ownership thing is definitely a wrinkle, which I'm sure he was interested in, but I can't believe that was happening in 2019. It kind of blew my mind. And the whole thing is the Miami owner gets all these penalties, like nothing falls on Brady's shoulders, I guess. It's okay for him to be like on his end to have those discussions, but it's not okay for Miami to have them. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, Teflon Don type of scenario. Some of my thoughts on TB is I actually don't think he's done, Randy.
Do you think he goes to Miami?
I actually there is a so let's if they end up winning it, Tampa, you have to assume or figure that there's something inside of Tom that would want to stay. There would be some of that environment keeping him around that team. But can't you see if let's say they get eliminated in the second round, they got some injuries, the coaching toggles, maybe that just doesn't look or it just doesn't have the same appearance of Arians or even Bill. Mm-hmm. And the narrative just continues to play out where Tom is leaving Tampa.
Yep.
Can't you see that psychopath giving somebody 2 years?
San Francisco.
I keep going back to that. I keep going back to that. I know they have Trey. I know they're making the move for him this year, but it's like, what if that kid falls on his face? What if he can't throw simple outs?
Man, it's hard to be a quarterback in the NFL. I'll get to the Niners in a bit, but what about the Saints though too? Because there was some talk that that Brady was eyeing the Saints ahead of the Bucs. I don't know if you read any of that stuff lately. So there's some potentials for him past the Bucs, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why he is away from the team right now. Like, what is, like, sometimes you read the headlines and they make it seem like it's a little bit nefarious as to why this is happening, like marital problems, family problems. But then there's other people that make it seem like it was like a planned vacation. It's like, which one is it? It's a little bit worse if there's like some type of emergency that he has to deal with. Is there problems at home? I don't know. I don't know how it all plays out. But that's a little bit of a wild card for him. Guy's 45 years old. This is crazy.
I worry about his parents.
Yeah. I thought about his
mom's history. Yeah. Part of me wonders if it's that, but it is insane to me that we haven't heard why he's gone, which tells me there's a cover-up for why he's gone, which probably means he had some, I retired, all right, we could press play on some of these things that we were going to do, and this particular 10 days is just something that couldn't be unworked in the schedule.
Yep.
I don't know if it's business stuff, if it's family stuff. And speaking of his family, the more that this continues to go on, like you look at the physical condition he's in, he looked good when he signed with the Bucs. You look at some of his practice photos from a few days ago prior to his hiatus here. I mean, the guy looks amazing.
He's freaking had a Hall of Fame career since he's turned 40. He's unbelievable.
So it's like his family's gotten older. His kids are used to Tom Brady, the athlete. You know what I mean? He's got a good routine with Bridget and his son. Like, his kids are used to him being on a football field, and then they're used to going to Cabo in the off season and going to hang out with Beckham and his family. Isn't it kind of normal to be Tom Brady? And if you're Tom Brady, for his kids, it's kind of normal to be Tom Brady's kids at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all over 10 years old, I believe. Vivi is 10, I believe.
Yeah, I think she's the same age as Aubrey.
So it's like, if that psychopath keeps looking like he does, and he obviously can't get away, my official take is this. Unless they win it all, I think Tom commits to 2 years to a team after this season that makes sense for Tom to be there, to be 3/4 Tom. Yeah. And 3/4 Tom on that particular team equals probably they're going to go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. And honestly, that probably is Miami, because I think he's building some ridiculous place down in that billionaire's bunker, whatever they call it, where a lot of super, super rich people are building. I'm pretty sure he's building a place down there. So maybe something like that is Miami. Maybe it does make sense. So maybe they're just trying to hold on to for one more year.
So I could ramble on and on about Tom.
Yeah.
It's kind of your topic. Is there anything else on there that you kind of...
No, that's it, man. I'm excited. I'm ultimately excited to watch Tom Brady play football. It was a great couple of years in the sense that you always had the Pats on at one time and then Tampa will be on. So we can watch the Pats at one time and Brady on at another time. It's perfect. So
I think it only ran into each other twice last year, and can I say, even though they got bounced from the playoffs, if you think about some of those last couple of games, the last touchdown to Evans in that game they lost, dart.
That was ridiculous. They could have easily won the Super Bowl last year. It was that long pass away from winning, and that's football, I guess. But like, they were right there. They could have easily went to the Super Bowl, and they easily could have won again.
The one other game that sticks out to me is later in the season against the Jets. They were playing absolutely like dog blood.
Yeah.
And that ball down the right sideline, he didn't really get to throw into it either. It was just a quick, okay, my guy's there. Let me hammer this down the field. I mean, we're talking about a 45-year-old guy that put a ball in the air on a line for almost 50 yards, pinpoint, touchdown, thanks for coming. You know what I mean? That's the sort of stuff where it's like you talk about the Super Bowls and all that stuff. I geek out on those little moments where you're like, yeah, my dude still has it.
End of the day, there's nothing like watching Tom Brady play football. So I'm thankful to at least have another year and hopefully more. So, all right, so that's my 4. We've already knocked a couple other ones off the list. My 2 is off the list. So we're actually further along than it sounds like we are. Why don't we go to your 4?
Number 3.
Oh, number 3, yeah. Good.
So I hate to do this. I'm a big AFC East guy. It's been fun stomping on the Bills forever.
Yeah.
We have some family that are Bills fans. It's been the hatred towards Tom and New England has been so fun for me to deal with. This is on Allie's side.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Number 3, does Josh Allen play at an MVP level and win it? And I'm leaning yes.
So I should say, I think we only have one topic left. Because my number 1 was just who comes out of the AFC to go to the Super Bowl, whether it's Mahomes or Allen. That AFC Championship game, last few minutes, was some of the best, funnest football that I had ever watched between him and Mahomes going back and forth. So you already got to the Mahomes versus Rodgers thing. To me, it was Allen versus Mahomes. And might as well just talk about Allen and the Bills right now. He's legit. He is really good, man. I mean, good for the Bills guy. I love busting the Bills fans in my life's balls. Dave Garrett comes to mind. And I don't want to give him an inch with the Bills ever, but hopefully he doesn't listen to this. They're pretty damn good.
And speaking of that, it's like going back to that family scenario for me. It's like I still hear the Brady comments, but it's like my ex-girlfriend, if you will, gave me all these Super Bowl rings or gave me all these kids that I enjoy now. It's like, my life's cool, yeah. My ex-girlfriend's with somebody else, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, they sit there and they try to needle me about Josh Allen, and I'm like, guys, I can't really see you over all these rings that are stacking up. So it's like
so true. Like I love them trying to talk crap to me because I just don't care. It's like, well, I'm happy for you, man. Welcome to the club to like think for a second that you guys have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I felt that way every year for the freaking past 19 years.
Yeah.
You know? So good for you, dude.
Yeah, what do you want from me? You want me to engage in this? I'm like, my life's been great for 20 years.
Welcome to the club, dude. So, but they're good, man. They are good. Allen's good. The receivers are good. Obviously, add Von Miller. I think, I don't know, man. This might be it for them.
The Von Miller ad, for me, it's like really, really big move for them, but part of me wonders how much football is left. That's a big contract. That's one of those areas on the economic side for me where it's like, all right, I see why you did it, but you've got a player that has a lot of miles on him, and you're paying him a lot of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Those are the type of moves that you make to reach for a Super Bowl, but what if he gets hurt?
Yeah, totally. I had that same thought initially, and I had drinks with Dave a few months back, and that's what I said to him. That was the argument I said, like, Von Miller, old, washed up, probably going to get hurt. And then he kind of sold me on how good he had looked last year, and so I'm kind of on that side of the fence now where, all right, maybe this does work out well, and that is a good signing. So for now, I'm just going to operate as if it is. But yeah, no, there's always that risk when you sign a veteran on his third team that's a little bit older. But he is a stud.
So Allen's play, and this is kind of the geek side of me that made me really like, wow, this kid's going to be good. And it was a play that was an incomplete pass. So we beat Buffalo in that win game. Mm-hmm. It was cold.
Yep.
Do you remember that later in that game, they were driving down the field? They were within 25. Allen, now mind you, the wind was at Allen swirling.
Okay.
He threw a ball to the end zone where our DB just didn't think a ball could get there.
Yeah.
He was burnt toast, and Allen actually overthrew it on a line.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, this kid is, well, he didn't make the play, but the whole part of it is he could make the throw.
He can make throws that other people can't make. Yeah.
So, and then subsequently those playoff moments that you were talking about. So it's like, I actually think the kid's going to run the league this year.
Same. And we are going to do some predictions after we finish this up, so maybe save a little bit more Allen talk for that point, because it sounds like we might be on the same page with our thoughts on Josh Allen. All right, so the only thing that I have left is number 3. Is my third thing, which I don't think is that great of one to finish on, but it was who comes out of the NFC, and we'll talk about the predictions, like I said. But for me, the team that I was really excited about last year in the playoffs was San Francisco. And
yeah.
I'm really excited to see what they do this year. I don't know what's going on with Jimmy. I don't know if Trey's taken over. He obviously had that really nice long touchdown pass the other day that people were really impressed by. Deebo Samuel is an absolute stud. Both are back. They're a good team, and I almost wonder if they're going to be the team that comes back this year and finishes better than they did last year.
I had a funny moment to myself with the highlights for a couple of days of Trey throwing that go route for a touchdown. It was like, okay, cool. He can throw the football 50 yards. You're supposed to be able to do that. You're an NFL quarterback.
It's like they didn't expect that he could.
What's that?
It's like they didn't expect that he could do it. So when he did it, it was like a surprise for everyone. But it's almost like they're a quarterback away from being really good. And their quarterback play is going to be the thing that determines their season.
And that was going to kind of be my point. It's like, can you make the other plays? You know what I mean? Can you throw the ball in a window? Can you throw it in the wind? You know what I mean? Can you throw it when it's wet? Can you throw it when you're playing in Foxborough in January? You know what I mean? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of that kid. But yeah, super high on them also last year. And it's like going back to the Brady thought, man, a perfect world right now, if the Bucs weren't a scenario, would be to plug Brady in with the numbers.
It'd be such a great storyline given that's where he's from, but like they could actually really use him and probably win the Super Bowl with him. But when I look at the teams out in the NFC, there's a couple teams that I think are pretty decent, but 49ers are a team that excites me. I had fun watching them last year in the playoffs and following them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do because I think they're a frisky team.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the Rams?
It's hard to repeat in the NFL. Obviously, the Pats did it a bunch of times, but I'm excited. I think they're good. I love Stafford. I think he's an absolute stud. But I don't know, man. Part of me thinks that there's always a regression, or most of the time there's a regression after you win the Super Bowl. So it's almost what I expect. And they just snuck by the 49ers around before the Bucs as well. So, or was it in the? Yeah, they beat the Bucs in the NFC Championship game, and they beat the Niners, I think, the week before. And that wasn't an easy game for them either.
I'm kind of teasing some of the division stuff with that question, by the way.
So I know we'll get to that in a few. So then, why don't we move on then to your last one, which ends up being your number 3 as well? Is that?
So my last one was the TB12.
Yeah, but there's one we skipped one, didn't we?
Well, so I had Mac as number 5 was your 2.
Yeah.
Rodgers and Mahomes.
Yeah.
I had as 4. Allen being the MVP was 3.
Oh, yeah, Brady and new faces and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, cool. We actually had a pretty similar list. The only thing that was like outright different was maybe your Rodgers one when I had San Fran. So that's interesting to me. It's such a quarterback league. I'm not surprised that a lot of the storylines that we'd be interested in would be more relating to quarterbacks and how they're going to carry their team or how they're switching new teams.
Something that I was kind of, as you and I kind of float around each other here at work, I was kind of asking you some indirect questions because I wanted to get a feel for maybe if I could sniff out what you were going to put on your list. It doesn't surprise me that we're mirroring a lot, but one thing that I almost put was running backs. And almost, this is a fantasy football thought, but it's like, it's such a quarterback-driven league, but man, you have to have a running back. And what didn't make my list is who do you think the top running back is this year?
It's the one that can stay the healthiest, right? Like,
yeah.
That's the thing with the NFL and running backs, not to be like evasive about it, but who is that guy that doesn't get hurt? It's not McCaffrey. Everyone thinks McCaffrey would be the top running back if the guy could play a full season. So
I've had him on
every
Well, I was going to say I've had him on every fantasy football league, CMC, and it's like, man, those weeks I have him, it's amazing. Then he's gone. Yeah, it really just boils down to who's healthy. So, but some guys that I think of right away is Cook, CMC.
Yeah.
The kid in Tennessee. I mean, my God.
Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry's probably that guy. I mean, but even he's a guy that I thought would be impossible for him to get hurt, and then he gets hurt last year and totally derails the season. When you look at the season he had, the one before that, which was an all-time season. He's an absolute beast. So he could easily do it again if he stays healthy.
The kid playing for Indy, that's sick.
Yeah.
And like if you have the fantasy football thought, you start thinking about the second tier running backs. It's like Harris is really good. Ramondre is probably going to take his job at some point. So it's like, man, running backs are such a crapshoot. So it's like it didn't make my list, but really maybe it should have to break up the quarterback talk. But it's like who ends up from our conversation or week one ending up being the number one running back at the end of the year? It's always a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
No, that's the thing that's tough about fantasy football. That's why it's a crapshoot. Whoever wins, it's whoever gets the luckiest with your running back and whoever's guys stay stay the healthiest. So, but I'm interested to see. I hope Harris has a great season for the Pats. We'll see though. I know you have him on your squad as well.
Part of me actually thinks Bill ends up trading him if somebody gives him a third or a fourth. Because ultimately, I think you, and this is classic Bill, he'll let him go, get the compensatory pick, but he does. Actually, I should back this up. The Pats have a lot of money next year. They're not going to re-sign Harris unless he's realistic. But if Harris has a good year, you see somebody overpaying him, and Bill's like, I already have Ramondre, so why am I going to do this? I could almost see Bill trading him within the next few weeks for a fourth or a fifth, just so you can jump ahead of the compensatory scenario that he's not going to have next year because he's going to bring in so many free agents, just so he doesn't lose that value in that pick formula that Bill has in his brain.
That's not a bad idea. If you're spending a big part of your salary cap on a running back, I think that's a recipe for disaster on your team. So, yeah, if he has a good year this year and he's going to expect some free agent money, I think if you end up having to pay him that and that money's not going towards your defense or some weapons for your quarterback, that's probably a waste in the league the way it is in 2022.
And you touch on something perfect with that is money and injuries. It's like if you're Jerry Jones or if you're any of the numerous Cowboy fans that we know, deep down you wasted money on Elliott.
Yeah, you absolutely did. He's past his prime by a lot, and that one's just tied up with him. I get it. I mean, the Cowboys, you need to have a guy like Zeke. It's hard to have him walk, but man, that's all money that could have been better used. And that's part of why the Pats had so much success over the years, not necessarily with running back, but like Brady always put the Pats in a position to take that money that really should have went to him and distribute it throughout the rest of the team, giving them a more competitive team. So with a quarterback, you can say that it's worth it to just bite the bullet and pay it, but with a running back, no way.
Yep. And I hate to pick on those Cowboys fans, but this is over. This is over, and that belly hanging out. Sorry, guys.
Love my Cowboys fans, love my Packers fans, my Steelers fans. You guys are the best. All right, so that is the top 5 things that we're most excited about heading into the NFL season. The last part that we want to do before we wrap up is we want to make a few predictions, get those on paper, and then revisit them at the end of the year to see how close that we were. So what we agreed to do is pick each division winner, pick the conference winner, pick the Super Bowl winner, and then pick a few individual awards that it sounds like we may have some overlap on, and then just see who did a better job at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. So does that sound good?
Do we bet over this?
Well, you want to bet? I talked about betting and doing like a challenge with some type of loser has to do something stupid, but if you want to just make a bet on it, I'm fine with that.
I guess we could work this through. Something needs to happen. I don't want to rush this.
I know. It would be no fun for me to just take $100 from you. I feel bad doing that. So I'll feel bad taking your hard-earned money. So maybe it's do something as a penalty, but keep it in mind.
How about this? I know you and I hoard our crypto.
Oh, God.
Loser has to pay a bet in crypto.
Okay, what's the bet?
That's the thing. How much?
You give me 1 Bitcoin if I win, and I'll give you...
You give me 1 baby Doge.
fraction of a penny. So...
Well, maybe this gives us something good to talk about when we revisit it, that we can actually tell everybody what we ended up betting.
Okay, sounds good, dude. We're going to do something. So I'm going to run through the divisions. I'll list them, and maybe we can alternate with who we're going to pick first. So I'll start it with the AFC East. All right, I am going to pick the Bills. I think it's pretty obvious that they're the favorite. I think it's pretty high likelihood that they win. How about you?
Yeah, I went Buffalo, and I don't think it's close. Not at all. Buffalo.
Pats make the playoffs. It's definitely as a wild card.
Rand, real quick, 10.5 wins over under Pats.
It's 17 games now. I would still take the under.
All right.
I would say 10 games. Like I'm thinking 10-7. Why? What do you think?
11-6.
11-6. Oh, maybe that's a little side bet on its own.
Yep.
So, all right, AFC North. I'll have you go first this time. I thought this one was a little bit harder, but what do you think?
Man, if Cleveland has Watson, the Steelers, that's not even in the equation. Baltimore's always going to be competitive, but man, the Bengals finally won some important games. Mm-hmm. It's like they've had some talent over the years. They've never really won any big games to ever take them serious. I'm going to go with Bengals. How about you?
Same for me. I don't want us to think that we're just kind of copying each other all the way down, but how could you not? So I think about a team like the Rams peaking and then regressing this year. I look at a team like Cincinnati. They probably overachieved last year, and this could potentially be a springboard into an even better year. For a guy like Joe Burrow, who's an absolute stud with great weapons as receivers. Joe Mixon's still a good running back, and they got a good D. I don't know how I could pick anyone else but them. So
I mean, Jamar is a beast.
So good, man.
Jeez, what a beast.
It's fun watching them. I wanted the Bengals to win last year in the Super Bowl. They came close, dude. Probably closer than a lot of people thought they were going to. So it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, AFC South. Who do you got for them?
I really think it just boils down to Colts and Titans. Jags need to get their luck together. The Texans obviously are rebuilding some stuff. I think I'm going to go with Matty Ice and the Colts. How about you?
Same. I should pick the Titans just to be different from you, but I actually think the Colts will probably win that division. I'm not sure how Henry's going to bounce back. Never loved Tannehill. They lost A.J. Brown. So the Colts added a big improvement in the most important position. Great running back, playing a dome. I would go with that too. So we'll differentiate at some point, but I don't think it's going to be with the next one, which is the AFC West. Who would you pick for them?
So I went through East, North, South, and I'm like, it's obvious that we're going to have the three same picks. So I looked at this West division as an opportunity to have a change between us. I'm curious to see if we were different. A friend of mine, Kevin Montmany, if you're watching, I want to let I pick the Raiders.
Wow. Okay. So that is different than me. I picked the Chiefs.
Yep.
Which I guess is like kind of a boring pick in hindsight because I actually would like it if the Raiders won. Obviously, want McDaniels to do well. I think that Raiders are an exciting team. So, honestly, I wouldn't mind if the Chargers won. They actually have a pretty competitive division. Hebert's a stud. Eckler's a stud. So, anything could happen, but Chiefs are really good. Mahomes is really good. So, until they don't win that division, I'm just going to assume that they're going to. So, but I like it.
This might be the area where it's like record scratches. This is where I gave you a division, and ultimately I had to pay you 7 Bitcoin.
7 Bitcoin. If you have to pay me 7 Bitcoin, then Bitcoin prices are not doing very well. Anything's possible in the next few months. Next one, we're going to pivot over to the NFC now. NFC East. Who do you got? Well, actually, why don't I go first this time? Because I think you've been going first for some of them. So I took the Cowboys.
Okay.
Not because I feel strongly about the Cowboys. I just think it's such a crap division. It's been a crap division for a while. Like, Giants are no good. Commanders are no good. Philly, I mean, Jalen Hurts is just okay. They don't excite me. And then that just leaves us with the Cowboys, and I picked them probably just because of Dak. I think he's the best quarterback out of all of them. So that's kind of my default. What about you?
Okay, so we differ again. NFC East, by the way, was like one of the funnest divisions for me as a kid, growing up with those old Phil Simms Giants and ripping with the Redskins. Man, that was some fun football to watch. I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Okay.
They actually get their luck together and put it together and win a division. Plus, I like their draft, actually.
Yeah. I like it. Hopefully. I definitely don't want the Cowboys to win, just despite all our friends that are Cowboys fans, but we'll see what happens. This one could be a little bit different, too. NFC North, why don't you go first?
I went with the Packers.
Did you? I took the Vikings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's a bad pick. It's almost in the area of, like, Raiders over the Chiefs. It's like if a couple things go right for the Raiders and you're projecting the Chiefs to actually take a little bit of a downgrade because of some of their changes.
Yeah, I can see that. So, yeah, for me, Detroit's not competitive. Chicago's not competitive. Packers took a step back. Vikings still have Dalvin. They still have Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is what he is. But I like your Raiders pick. If a couple things go right, then I could see them winning it. And I'm glad that we're a little bit different. So it's good. Next one, NFC South.
I know we both went with TB12.
And how could you not?
How could you not? The question is, Rand, is there anybody in that division that actually can force them to not take it? And I don't think the answer is anywhere close to yes. Falcons, no. Panthers, no. Saints are trying to build something, but what are they building?
Michael Smith's coming back. Winston's coming back. But still, I think it's the Bucs barring something crazy.
Yep, agree.
All right, last one, NFC West.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I took the Niners. You can tell I'm a big Niners guys this year. So, did you take the Rams?
I did take the Rams.
Okay. So that's me banking on the Rams taking a step backwards. So and 49ers somehow getting over the hump versus them. But I can see them being two of the teams that are really good in the NFC besides the Bucs. So it could go either way.
So coming down to both you and I kind of picking this, it's almost like the NFC West and the AFC West. We've kind of got those maybe questionable picks from both of us.
Yep.
And then really it's going to boil down to what were our other differences? We had the NFC East.
So you took the Raiders, I took the Chiefs. You took the Eagles, I took the Cowboys. You took the Packers, I took the Vikings. And then Rams for you and Niners for me. So four the same, four different. So it's good. Good.
This isn't crazy. This could get interesting for us.
I like it. All right, so fast forward to the conference championship. Who do you have coming out of the AFC?
I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Looking at those teams, I think they could get past the Chiefs and the Raiders. Then they get past the Colts, Bengals. If they really continue that upward trajectory, maybe they give them a run. But it seems like it's the Bills here, or I hope it is this year. So hard to not pick them. Who'd you pick coming out of the NFC?
So I mentioned teasing earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned like repeat champions.
Yeah.
I actually think the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams. I'll give you a little bit more. Go ahead. Who do you think it is?
So I took the Bucs, and that is almost because I don't think, again, I'm betting on the Rams taking a step backwards. I don't think the Niners are good enough to get there. The other conferences are that great, and then it kind of just leaves the Bucs. And Brady's been pretty consistent. If he has another year like he had last year with the weapons that he has, it seems pretty crazy to think that he'd get there again this year at his age, but that's what he took. So.
Well, okay, so I started concocting all these thoughts in my mind, and I went with who's the kid that always, is it Kellerman that always says Brady's going to hit the cliff?
I think he's kind of abandoned that at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, so in my mind I'm like, all right, how can I needle my Buffalo Bill fans? So, and also be realistic about my thoughts with Tom, even though I want to write down Tampa Bay and say they'll win it, but I didn't want to kind of go with probably what everybody thought I would say.
Yep.
I'm going Rams to repeat. I love that offense. I love the defense. I think the coaching is phenomenal. I'm going to say that we actually might have a back-to-back scenario, so I'm going Rams.
I love that you're needling those Bills fans. Just get them to the Super Bowl, talk sweet about them this whole podcast, 50 minutes in, and you just come bring it down, bring the hammer down on them. No Super Bowl for you guys.
Dude, come crashing right down. 41-37 Rams victory against the Bills. Just a late touchdown, some just random like halfback pass, just because that's what those they're so creative. Yeah. I love watching them. I hate that I'm rooting for this.
I'm taking the Bills, so I'm glad that we're going different directions on it. So we have a bunch of ways that we've picked differently. So we'll see what happens with all that. Where do you think Odell Beckham Jr. goes? He hasn't really come up this whole pod. He's not going back to the Rams at this point. Right? He's still a free agent, unless I missed something.
No, still a free agent. I noticed some stuff teased on Twitter, and I actually was kind of leaning in my thoughts to this was him in Buffalo.
Really? That'd be a good get. I don't know how his knee is, but assuming he's healthy, that would be a great get for them.
Yep. I mean, I thought he was really good for the Rams last year.
For the Rams last year. I've never been a big Odell guy, but I did really appreciate how good he was last year. He was a great signing for them.
I mean, he played great in the playoffs. I mean, he was good in that Super Bowl until he got hurt. I mean, and you hate to see that, by the way. I don't like seeing that whatsoever. You got these stud athletes. Maybe you could judge their first couple years in the league, some of the sort of look at me scenarios that you can bring up with some of these guys, and it's like you finally saw an athlete digging deep to get to the big game, got to the big games, made a couple plays early, and
had a touchdown, right?
Just terrible. Yeah. So
I'm hoping he comes back. Any chance he goes to the Pats? Cup of coffee with the Pats? No?
Cup of coffee is possible. The thing is, though, Randy, is I feel like those guys have too many guys right now anyways.
Yeah, right.
Too many wide receivers. It's like maybe we would have an opportunity at that if, A, deep in the season,
Yeah.
we're looking good.
We'll end up somewhere first. But it's like you say we have too many receivers, and it's like, yes, we have too many receivers on the roster, but none of them are like great wide receivers. They're all just like average to above average. No real studs. Not that Odell would be an absolute stud if he came in, but I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, actually, Randy,
What?
official prediction for me is Buffalo Bills. What is yours?
I actually don't have one just because I don't have my finger on the pulse of Odell at all. So I actually hope he goes to Buffalo. If he goes, I think that would be a great signing for them and a great signing for him. And he'd probably be a great contributor. So
I'm going Bills, Rams, sneaky third place is the Niners.
Okay, like it. All right, last few things that we're wrapping up. We're going to do Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP. So why don't we start with Offensive Rookie of the Year? Do you want me to go or you want to go?
Go ahead.
Getting back to me thinking it's a quarterback-driven league,
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to say Kenny Pickett for the Steelers. Is this, I mean, like, who else is it going to really be, though? Is it going to be one of these wide receivers? Yeah.
Can you see it?
Eli or other stuff? Oh, yeah. It's
Kenny Pickett?
Yeah. But it's the only thing that makes sense. He's a rookie that really has a chance to start on a team that has a couple. They have some weapons, right? Like between Harris and Claypool and other guys like that. So if he gets in there and he starts, he probably wins the Rookie of the Year. So it's not obviously you agree.
Yeah, I have a backup of Sky Moore, but going to Kenny, what are you doing if you're Pittsburgh? Like I know Ben's retiring. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh knows that they can draft defensive players all day, linebackers. They can draft wide receivers. I mean, they roll out of the fish wrap and just draft all pros in those positions.
Yeah.
Are you blinded somehow, where you think that you can make a Mitch Trubisky scenario work? Like we talked about all these quarterback changes, and that's the dude they went after. It's like Baker Mayfield was available a month ago, and you still kept Mitch. So you're obviously high on Kenny.
Yeah. And if Mitch does start the year, it's a short leash. Give him a game. He's terrible. Kenny starts game 2, and then just takes it from there. So.
Yep. Agreed.
It is a crapshoot. We'll see what happens. Next is Defensive Player of the Year. Why don't you go first? I think this is a tough one, I should say. You said well, like that
TJ Watt.
Point flip more than anything.
I mean, you could go with Donald. You could go with the kid in Cleveland, Miles. Any number of guys.
I would go with, and I'm not passionate about it because it really could be anyone that gets hot. Has a bunch of interceptions or gets a bunch of sacks, and it could be someone that totally surprises us. But Watt's obviously a stud, right? Like he's a.
And the thing is like it does boil down to, is he healthy enough to win it? It's just something with that last name because his brother's never gets through a season, and TJ got hurt late last year. Yeah. So I say if he stays healthy, he wins it.
Yeah, and I'll take Miles because he's an awesome player. He can get to the quarterback, and he's an absolute stud. So barring someone completely surprising us, which is probably what's going to happen, he would be my pick for that one. So we'll see. For beds. All right, cool. All right, last one is the MVP, and I'll let you go first.
Josh Allen.
Yeah. Same.
I think it's the kid's going to make the leap and just kind of run all over the bad teams in the AFC East. He's just going to win some big games. He's going to put up some gaudy numbers. He's got a stud wide receiver. He's got those little scat back running backs. He's just got the defense. He's got the coaching.
He plays his ass off, man. He leaves it all on the field, which is awesome.
And how many times that guy is wrapped up, or you think you're collapsing a pocket on him, and he just steps up and he just runs for 20 yards, and it's just like, man, he's even running on me when he doesn't have any passing lanes. So it's just, he's doing everything. Which, by the way,
what's up?
Quick little plug for Mac. I think we're going to notice a little bit out of Mac in that area where it's like if nothing's there, I think Mac's capable of taking it.
Yeah, I hope so. If you look at the other quarterbacks in the league, guys that could, it's probably going to be a quarterback that's MVP. That's just the way that it is, barring a very, very good Derrick Henry type season out of a running back. But you got Mahomes, always possible, but I don't know, man. He would have to have a remarkable year for that to happen. Rodgers, can he really get it again with the weapons that he has now? Brady, very possible that he gets it if he plays like he did last year. I thought there should have been more consideration for what he did last year. I'm surprised that I could have seen giving it to Brady last year over Rodgers. Maybe I'm a Brady homer, which I definitely am. So Brady would be that other person. Stafford, you seem to be high on the Rams, so I guess Stafford could maybe be in that conversation too. But besides that, those are the guys. Maybe Joe Burrow if he has a really great season. But those are like the 5 or 6 guys that you could think would even be possible to win.
Yep. All valid thoughts, and it's like you mentioned Tom probably should have gotten it last year. That Aaron Tom thing was such a weird debate in my mind. It was like so clear cut to me that it was Tom, but again, Brady homer, I get it. Which I know you didn't ask. I know that we didn't do this, but like there's that Offensive Player of the Year award. Mm-hmm. I think with me sort of going all in on Josh Allen, if I had a pick for that, I'd go TB12 this year because I think the numbers are just going to be there.
That's an interesting thought to have. Brady in that spot. I don't know how people treat the Offensive Player of the Year. To me, and I don't even know who the Offensive Player of the Year was last year or the past few years, but like I almost think of the quarterback going as MVP and then the skill position guy going as the Offensive Player of the Year to whoever that best running back is, or if there's like a Cooper Kupp type receiver. Did Cooper Kupp win it last year?
It's funny. I was hoping that you wouldn't ask because I should know that.
Yeah.
Because usually the guy that doesn't win the MVP gets that Offensive Player of the Year. I don't think Tom got it last year.
No, he did not. So it might have been a guy like Cooper Kupp who had an awesome season. So if I had to think of a Offensive Player of the Year type guy, it's a guy like Cooper Kupp. It's a guy like Derrick Henry, one of those skill positions who's the best in the league. But I mean, I definitely think Brady will be a top 2 or 3 MVP guy. I expect him to have a great season, barring anything crazy.
Yep.
So, all right, dude. Well, we have different Super Bowl winners, different NFC champions, 4 different division winners. We have different Defensive Player of the Year. So there's some stuff. I'll consolidate this list, and then at the end of the year, we'll have to regroup, do a little debrief on the season, talk about who won this and what the bet was, and determine how you're going to pay me. So, go from there.
Hey, man, it was fun doing this. Thanks again for having me on, and let's do it again.
Yeah, we'll find something else to talk about in a month from now. Thanks again for coming, pal. Good times.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me.
See you, bud.
See you guys.